Good morning, Campo, or should I say good evening? Um, I'm not sure. I think
Good
what's
evening.
5 o'clock your time?
Yeah, 5 o'clock, same day as you guys, but you're 9 hours behind, Waylon. You should know that by now. You've travelled the world many times.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math. So yeah, you've obviously had a fuller day. My day is just starting with my youngsters. So yeah, lovely to have you
Oh,
on
cool.
this conversation on Zoom. Thanks for making
No
the
problem. Thank
time.
you.
Um,
Anytime.
Obviously, you're one of the people I look up to. Obviously, your accolades are endless, and I was really fortunate enough to have you coach me at once upon a time. So thank you very much
Yes, it
for
was.
having a conversation with me.
I think the disappointing thing for me is that I tried hard to get JP to learn a few things, mate, but he was very lazy. I think he still is lazy, isn't he? So say hello to him for me, will you?
I will do so. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe a good starting point is obviously your whole life has been dedicated to rugby and what you've given the game from a player's point of view, and now as a coach helping a lot of youngsters. Where did this passion for rugby start? Was it always rugby? Did you play multiple sports, or where did your rugby journey start?
Yeah, well, Waylon, my journey started. I played rugby league most of my life because back in the late 60s and early 70s out in New South Wales country, rugby league was the major sport. Rugby was still very sort of newish out there. So the town I came from was a place called Queanbeyan, which is near Canberra, where the Brumbies are formed now. And I played league from 8 to 16. I won a golf championship at 15, played Aussie rules, played a bit of rugby. But when it was 16 when I went over to play rugby for the fourth team Whites, Queanbeyan Whites. So it was all very new to me, mate. I had no idea, the skinny young guy who could run. And off I went. And I believe that fourth year in 1979 was probably my best year ever because I was young, still learning. I had all the old guys been there, done that. So they were sort of teaching me as you go along and play. If you did something good, did something bad, they'd try and tell you that's great, that's not, next time do this. So it was a learning process. So that was 79. 1980, I played first grade. 81, I played for the Australian 21s. And 82, I played for the Wallabies. So I didn't go through the system, as you sort of know, through, schoolboys and all that sort of stuff. So I was very fortunate. And I think my background sort of helped me to break the international scene because I had no idea who the All Blacks were back then and no idea about anybody. So it didn't really intimidate me at all. And I think that one thing I think was important for me, that there was never any pressure from my parents. My parents, my dad was Italian, had no idea about sports. I had a brother, two younger sisters. So on weekends, I would go by myself on the bus. Off we go and train and play and all that. So there was never ever pressure like you see now when you go to school. The mothers carry the sons' bags, do this. And there was none of that. So it really made me follow my own dreams and goals, not because my parents were there pushing me to do things. So, I sort of tried to did that, and so it was a great journey. And obviously, playing for Australia was probably the ultimate thing I've done in my life.
And also, just to maybe a segue to that, your style of play at that time, a lot of flair, expressing yourself. Was that something that was around back then, or were you encouraged from a young age to express yourself, or was it more rigid in terms of what the coach expected from you? Because obviously when we watched you on the world stage, we never knew what you were going to do next, which made it quite exciting. So you probably did a lot for the game itself to make it more entertaining.
Yeah, Waylon, I think it's very hard to pinpoint what changed. And I think if you really think about what happened I came from a rugby league background. I was clueless about rugby. I played Aussie rules for a couple of years as well. But then I decided to go out there, and at fullback, I said, well, this is good because you're playing against older guys. I kept on running the ball everywhere. And I just got in my mind that, gee, this is a great game. I can do whatever I like. And I think that what really sort of got me going was the things that no one really saw was the way I trained. You know, I was probably one of the hardest trainers you've ever met.
Yeah.
You know, I would train during lunchtimes. I would go and kick the ball around for hours by myself. And so, but my basic skills were very, very important. You know, my basic skills were good. And I just knew that if they were good, I can try and experiment. Sometimes things worked, sometimes they didn't. But it was never a coach says, don't do that again.
Yeah.
And as a coach now, and any coach, if someone tries, you say, mate, that was really good. I'm sorry it didn't work, but you know, there's other ways. Try and find them. Don't say, don't do that again, because the kid's not going to try. And I think in modern day rugby now, you can see that the Danny Ciprianis, the Quay Coopers, the Curtly Beals, the Willie LaRue, who I think is a fantastic player,
Yeah.
but he's always under pressure because the other players don't understand what he's doing.
Correct.
And they expect Willie to do things for them. And it doesn't work that way when you've got a flair player. You've got to try and give those guys options. But because in South Africa, you know, now is a bit different. So when I coached you guys, rugby was a very structured sort of game. You know, it wasn't about flair and all that in South Africa, even though you had some great players. But now under Rusty, everyone's got a role. You can see that, you know. But then you've got Colby on the wing, who's a different player, who always keeps the opposition guessing. That's what we need in the game. And I think that's what I tried to bring. I could have been a very ordinary wing. I sat on the wing and did nothing. Or so, guys, I'm going to try and do things. And, you know, as I said, if it worked, it worked. But that's what I think rugby's about. That's why rugby is such a unique sport. You can go out there and you can try different things. And as I said, if it works, the crowd love it. If it doesn't, well, they're going to still clap for you because they want to see entertainment. They want to see people do different things.
And I suppose you're right. You want players to express themselves fully. You don't want them to be boxed in terms of extracting their potential and who they are as a unique rugby player. Everyone's got a different gift, but that synergy has to be trained, and your teammates have to understand who you are as a person and the type of intricacies that you might deliver on a rugby field. They almost have to be in sync with you. And I think obviously more often than not, especially with your 91 World Cup team, you guys obviously had a great synergy and people understood how Campo played.
Yeah, but you got to also understand, I was a winger. So I was the last person to get the ball.
Yeah.
I wasn't the creator inside. I used to finish off things. So obviously everyone had a role.
Yeah.
And saying, like, you know, when I coached you guys, if you think about what I coached you, there was nothing fancy. It wasn't fancy rugby. It was about doing the simple things, ball in front, changing angles and running, supporting. You know, if you can do those things, then you can experiment. That's how we used to do in Australia. Everyone had a role. My role was to finish. My role was to score tries.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I was very good at doing because that's what I practiced at doing. But the thing that really helped me as a rugby player, playing fullback, obviously I started, then playing the wing. But when I went to Italy in the 80s, my first club, they put me at number 10. So now I'm playing fly half. So I played against Nas, I played against Joel Stransky, I played against Michael Liner, Frano Bodica. So all these best players in the world, I'm at number 10 playing against them. I know Nas was a better number 10 than me.
Yeah.
I know these guys, but it didn't stop me from trying. So now my knowledge of the game, going back to a winger, knowing what the number 10's thinking, I knew exactly where he's going to kick the ball. So my anticipating was understanding, you know, understand the game. You know, so off the ball, I knew what was going to happen, where the ball was going to be, where I should be. And that's knowledge that you learn by trying different things. You know, if you're a winger, as I said, you know, we'll use JP. JP's been around a long time. You know, JP is a good winger. He's a good finisher. But he never really tried to try different things. What you see in JP is what you see in JP. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. He's won a World Cup. He's been great. But, you know, if he wanted to push himself like 80 at the Sharks, you know, I had Odwan Ghani, those guys, you know, you always wanted to do something, look for something to do.
Yeah.
So, but you all have a role in the team. And as long as you do your role properly and you fit into the link, then you can start experimenting. And I was very fortunate by my experience in Italy to come back and understand the game perfectly, where the ball's going to go. Watching the game now, I can see where the ball going. The guy said, "How do you know that?" I said, "Well, have a look how he's standing. You know, where the ball is. You know, it's about reading rugby, and that's the knowledge I brought into the game."
Awesome, and I think obviously that that mindset, like you said, comes from going the extra mile during the week. I spoke to Brad Moore, I think 2 days ago, and he said about winning those moments during the week, because a lot of people don't, a lot of people only see you on the Saturday, but the
Yeah.
majority of your minutes is done in preparation and in training and in refining your skill. So that obviously gives you the confidence going in. And obviously, as a
Yeah.
player, you want to make sure that you tick all the boxes. And like you said, having the mindset to do extra. It's not a coach
Yeah.
telling you have to do X, Y, and Z. It's you choosing to do that extra bit of work. No one telling you have to do it. That's out of your own.
But yeah, but also you got to understand, we played in the amateur era.
Yeah.
You know, I think I played about 3 years of professional. It changed.
Yeah.
You know, then you could train every day and all that, but we did it because we had a job. Then we train in between that. And the interesting thing is that if you look back now, my professional was 96. My last year's Test rugby, 7, 98 Commonwealth Games. I retired in 99. But the difference was that rugby was fun for us. We would work, then we're going to have our fun.
Mm.
But for professionals, it's a job. So you basically think 24/7 is rugby.
Yeah.
So you don't really switch off. You can go home and all that, but still it's, for us, it was like, guys, okay, we've been working all day. Let's go and have some fun.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. And that's why I think rugby's changed now, because I think a lot of people have forgotten about rugby as being fun. It's a job. And I remember Bismarck a couple of years ago was playing for the Sharks, and he got sent off when he trod on Liam Messam's head at Kings Park.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 weeks later, I rang Busy and I said, Busy, I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, Campo. He said, they always try and get after you and all this. I said, Busy, why did you play rugby?
Mm.
And he said, for the fun. I said, that's right. He said, thank you. Sometimes you get lost in the moment or understanding. The reason why we all play rugby is because we love the game.
Mm.
Money shouldn't change your attitude, but it does.
Absolutely.
Because everyone thinks, I've got a contract. That's great. I said, so what if you haven't got a contract? You've got to go somewhere where you want to enjoy your rugby. You don't go to the Blue Bulls if you're a number 10 when you love running the ball, because you go to the Blue Bulls and all you're going to do is kick the crap out of the ball. So you've got to go and say, well, I want to play somewhere where it's going to make me learn a lot about the game. But professionalism is not that way. It's about get a contract, got money, great, off I go. And that's why I think if you think about 95, we were amateur, 96, we were professional. So in one day, we basically went from having a great time. Now you've got to work at 6 in the morning, you've got to be at 11 o'clock, you've got to do this at 4 o'clock, and all of a sudden the mindset changes.
Absolutely.
And do you think the rugby player mind changed from loving the game to, they make a mistake on the oval now, they don't care because it's a job. Where before you used to be really annoyed because you work so hard to be in the team, but now you get, win, lose, or draw. If you play bad, you still get selected. So it's a mindset.
I see it quite a bit at schoolboy level, and I know it's generational. Obviously, it's a different generation that plays the sport now. But a lot of kids, I feel, when they leave school, if they don't make a team or represent the side they want, a lot of them have the inclination to maybe quit the sport, which for me is the biggest tragedy. If you have a gift and you love it, you have to continue playing it. And I think, obviously, your professionals give you something to watch and to aspire towards, and they're the professionals. But the people that play sports socially, they're the ones that keep the sport going. They play on a Sunday or play for a club team. They are the ones that keep the sporting cog going. So I always encourage our boys to just, even if you haven't made it by 21, to keep pursuing it, to keep playing it, because like you said, you have to love the sport first. Otherwise, it's not a good way to start any professional career. And if it doesn't happen, you know that you actually love the sport and you're doing it for the right reasons.
I think it's important that everyone's got a goal they've got to try and achieve.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I've been coaching in Australia since we came back in 2018, working for Australian Rugby, New South Wales Rugby. So I go around coaching kids for 2 years. And the biggest concern for Australian Rugby, for example, is after every session, You know, one session we had 190 kids, and there was 2 of us coaching. And after the backline session, I'd say, guys, okay, right, what's your name? Johnny, what position number 10? Who's your favourite player? Haven't got one. Okay. Bill, what position are you? I'm a fullback. Who's your favourite player? Haven't got one.
Yeah.
And I said, guys, this is our problem. How can you play if you don't want to be like somebody?
Mm.
You know, I grew up watching rugby league. And I love that guy. I want to be like him.
Yeah.
You know, then you meet him, you touch him, and say, oh, that's my hero. But see, we have a big problem in Australia at the moment where kids don't watch. We've got rugby league, we've got other sports, but we're not really exciting enough to get the kids to want to play or to be like it. They've all got Kiwi idols. My son Jason, who plays rugby, is Bowden Barrett's his idol. He's a Kiwi. I can't understand that, but because Bowden Barrett's a good player.
Yeah.
In Australia, we haven't got anyone that these kids want to be like, and it's very hard to try and get these kids to touch the players. Just recently, the Lions came and played at Sydney, and I took my son out and a couple of the boarders from where his school is. Anyway, I'm sitting there watching. I said, that can't be Yanni Duplessis out there. And there's Yanni running around. So I went to the fence and I said, Yanni! And he said, Campo! Anyway, so before the game, I said to the New South Wales guys, I said, mate, is it possible the players could come over and meet these guys who, you know, they're 13 years old?
Yes.
Oh, no, mate, they'll be too busy. And I get disappointed with that because that's all you got to do is these players touch them and go, oh, I met the Waratahs. So after the game, you know, Yanni came over and I said, is that Albert over there? Even Albert's playing.
Yes.
But I didn't really see him. So Yanni came over. He's met Jason and my son Jason and Sienna, my daughter. So he came over, said hello, blah, blah, blah. That's all you need to do. It's not difficult, you know. So these players are idols to people, to kids. And as long as the kids meet them, there's never no time to meet the fans. You know, and that's very, very important for the future of the game, that the players show that they're interested in meeting the young kids, because the young kids want to be there like them one day, and that's a positive thing for the game.
And when you were playing, obviously you made a conscious effort to interact with the fans after games. How was that social interaction? Where, as you say, now everything's kind of rigid in terms of once you finish a game, there's obviously post-recovery protocols and all that. But I do feel like you have to make yourself accessible to the fans, because if you want them to grow the sport and to continue to look up to someone, like you rightly said, you have to make that effort, because the game is bigger than the player.
Well, I think it was different our day again, because I remember going to New Zealand my first tour in '82, and I think we were playing Palmerston North, and I gave some kid my shorts. And when I went to the dressing room, obviously I gave to him, and I realised my mouth guard was in the shorts. So luckily New Zealand, they got hold of the local radio station and said, the kid that's got David Campese, can you please bring the shorts back? He's got his mouth guard in there. But I made a conscious effort after the game to always stay around, and sometimes I was over for an hour, because that's what kids want, you know. And I think that's missing these days, you know, that just understanding of, you know, these kids want to be like us. And I think the more kids you touch, the more they want to play, you know, and they see you, they'll try things, you know. So it's really a catch-22. I know these guys are professional. Now after a game, they sort of, you know, we used to go into the dressing room of the opposition, say hello, blah, 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 or functions after. I don't think if that happens anymore. And I think the last time I came back to Australia in 2009, I think I went to the stadium to watch the Sharks play the Waratahs, and Bashi was the backs coach, and I saw Odwar was still playing, JP was there, and I walked into the dressing room. I said, JP, I said, you're still a lazy bum. Odwar and 80. So I spoke to those guys.
Yeah.
And even they said, you know, we don't get much feedback anymore. Like, you know, I'd love to give feedback after a game, ask you how you went, what do you think you can do better? Because that's important, you know, the feedback. So, and those sort of things are changed now because we're professional. You can't sort of mingle and all that sort of thing. And I think it's very important that the players hang around and see the kids, you know, even at Kings Park at that end of the stadium where all the kids are. I think it's important that they come over and say hello and all that sort of, take photos, because they're the future of the game, and we still need kids to play.
Now, going back to your 91 World Cup triumph, in terms of that culture that you guys established there, what made that team special? So maybe a two-parter, and then obviously looking forward to the current Australian setup. What's your hopes for the new regime for Australian rugby? And maybe start with that 91 team and that build up to that World Cup win. Obviously, it probably started many years before that, but maybe touch on some memories from that team.
Yeah, I think the nucleus of that team had been together for a while. And, you know, we were, I think rough age was about 20, probably 26.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard for 18-year-olds to win a World Cup because of the mentality, but obviously Francis Dane was a bit different. I think it was 19 in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I just think it was a combination of a lot of hard work. We had the nucleus of the side. And back in those days, we had New South Wales, Queensland. So we had two teams in our Super Rugby, and majority of the players played in two teams. So the combination-wise, for Queensland, for example, you had Peter Slattery at number 9, Michael Lynagh at 10, Horan 12, Little 13. You had Damien Smith on the wing. Back in New South Wales, you had Tim Gavin, number 8, Nick Farr-Jones, number 9. So we had combinations in places. I played winger, fullback. You had Marty Roebuck, Rob Edgerton, fullback, winger. So we had combinations. And in any combinations in teams, you've got to have a good 8-9 combination who can fit into fullback and number 10. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a 10, 12, 13 combination, and you've got to have the wingers a fullback combination. So we had our nucleus of the players. Our front row was Mackenzie, Daly and Kearns, who played for New South Wales. The locks were Queenslanders, Rod McCall and John Eel. So it made it easy, you know. The more teams you've got, the more players you've got, good players you've got spread over 4 or 5 teams. Mm. And that's why it probably takes longer to come together to understand. Yeah. So in 1990, we beat the All Blacks in New Zealand. Then we sort of set the goal for 91. I think we had 10, 12 tests that year, and every test was one test at a time. Mm. So we beat New Zealand's World Cup year in 91 in Sydney, 24-15. Mm. England came out, we flogged them 40-15, and they were the 5 nation champions.
Okay.
Then we played New Zealand again in New Zealand 2 weeks after, and we lost 6-3. Mm. Then that was it, going off onto the World Cup. So we prepared. It was a long time. It wasn't just turn up and play. There was a program. Fitness, the skill factor. And I think it was very important. We were super fit. Mm. And if you just quickly go from 91 to 95, we had nucleus of the same team. We were 4 years older. We had a couple of injuries. You know, it was just where the Kiwis were in 91. We were at that stage, just a bit getting over the hill. Okay. So that sort of, it's not an excuse, but that's what happens in cycles of rugby. But I think the combination-wise, you know, if you think about the World Cup, we played Argentina in Llanelli on the Saturday. We played Samoa on the Wednesday in Pontypool in the mud. Saturday we played Wales. Sunday after we played Islands. Sunday after we played New Zealand. Then we played England. So it was basically bang, 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 straight into it. There was no Namibia. There was no easy games where you could win by 80, 90 points. It was a lot of bloody hard rugby.
You had to hit your straps quickly.
Well, you have to hit your straps, but you can't get injuries.
Yeah.
And also, if you play your best game first up, mate, you're going to struggle because you've got another 5 weeks to go. So it was a build-up, you know, and it was... The plan was well before that, you know, and it wasn't about turn up and win. It was actually planned well before that, a year or 2 years before. So you've got to have everything sort of click in play, you know. And I've always played my rugby the best overseas. I've always struggled in Australia because the pressure from the journalists, the pressure from the people, wanting also, if you make a mistake in Australia, you're going to get crucified, and confidence goes up and down.
Yeah.
So going to the World Cup, I was super fit, super keen, and I think we made it happen. I think the Ireland game was a very tough game, but the New Zealand game the week after was probably our best game. You've always got one good game in the tournaments.
Yeah.
And it mightn't be the final, but as long as you get to the final, you're there. You've got a chance of winning.
Yes.
It's no good like the All Blacks last World Cup flogged Ireland, turn up to play England, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be easy," and lose. They're out.
Yeah.
You can't save a game. You've just got to go and play the game. And anyone's been in the final, it's really a mental process. For Australians last year, it was very disappointing. But if you look at our performances over the last couple, we went up and down. There was no sort of builds.
Yeah.
And I think that year you saw South Africa last year beat New Zealand in New Zealand. They beat Australia. They beat all the players, the teams, and come into the World Cup, losing to New Zealand the first game. Don't know if it was planned, but it sets. It's always good to say, well, if you lose the first game, you bypass these guys. Whoever the top teams are. So it's a risk you take.
Yes.
But and I think South Africa was the first team ever that went through that way by winning the World Cup. Normally it doesn't work, but it worked in their favour. Their tactics worked, and Australian for me, never looked like winning. We're 7th in the world. We've got a lot of turmoil at the moment. And I think the new regime's got to try and look forward to where Australia's got to be. We are 7th in the world, which it's a shame for us, and I think I think we were 1, 2 or 3. So it's very disappointing. But we've just got to get our act together and aim for the next World Cup. We are trying to get the next World Cup in Australia 2027. So our goal is get back on the fields, get rugby started, clean up what's off the field, and obviously go for the next World Cup and just look positively down the track and make sure that we win the next World Cup. We haven't won one since '99 now. So even though we've been in 4 World Cups, we've just got to move on.
I think it's very exciting. If you look at New Zealand are in a transition as well, with new coaches coming into play. And I touched on that with Brad a couple of days ago. And you look at Australia's got a new coaching regime. And also South Africa, Rassie, obviously, Jacques Nienaber has taken over there. So
not much pressure on him, is there?
No, not a lot. Follow that act. So obviously,
especially if you lose a couple of really good senior players.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones, and when the pressure's on, they're the ones who lead the way. The other thing you've got to understand in the game as well in a team is, if you look at that 91 team, the Australian team, if you pick a Rugby World Cup best 15 at the World Cup, in 91, Australia had 9 players in that team.
Yeah.
Because, and leaders are not really the captain. Leaders are senior players who lead by example under pressure. If you think about the Sharks team that we had, you had John Smith, you had Brad Barrett, you had Butch James, you had a lot of guys in the forwards, Ron Ackerman, you had Ackerman, you had Bismarck, you had all these guys who are very experienced.
Absolutely.
And they teams with good leaders always do well. They're not relied on one person. The captain normally decides we'll kick for goal or kick for touch. He doesn't have to be an inspired player, but the other players have got to be inspired and lead the young guys. And that's why it takes a couple of years to really get a good team to lead the way, but you've got to have good leaders as well.
Yeah, obviously for the game of rugby, you want everyone firing on all cylinders, and obviously Australia is a proud rugby nation. We obviously hope they can get back to that competitive best. So I think it's going to be interesting here to see how teams react to different battles on the rugby field. But it's definitely exciting, and how coaches try and find that balance between, obviously, like you said, strong leadership, maybe some older heads, and also sprinkling some new talent in the mix as well. So obviously, I think the landscape is quite unique next year, and obviously we'll be watching closely. And it should make for some exciting games along the way.
Yeah, it will. But also this year's a bit of a mess. So, a lot of guys haven't trained. In Australia, the players have been stood down.
Yeah.
So no one's, they haven't got the same inspiration, I suppose. A lot of them might be training. But, that's when you think, right, okay, for me, I've been coaching I've been doing a lot of rugby mentoring now. There's a lot of young guys I'm helping, a lot of coaches as well. So, I'm coaching this young guy who's unbelievable schoolboy rugby player. Fantastic. Steps right, steps left, great player. Went to rugby league, unfortunately, came back, was in the Australian Sevens team, had a knee reconstruction. Anyway, so for the last 7-8 weeks, I've been coaching him. Could not kick left foot at all. And I said, mate, if you want to be a rugby player and you want to be a number 10, the more assets you've got as a player, the coach is going to pick you miles ahead of one guy who can only kick one foot. So his left foot now is better than his right foot.
Wow.
Okay, so I said, right, these are the skills. You've got to upskill. So this is the way I think. Okay, at the period of the moment, everyone's in lockdown. Right, so Waylon Murray as a player, right, I would go to Waylon and say, Waylon, right, I want you now. I've watched you play. You step really good off one foot. Now I want you to practice your other foot. Okay, I notice you don't kick a lot, but I want you to go and practice your left foot because in the outside centre role, great to put a little grubber through right and left.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do. But these guys aren't doing that. They go training and doing their good things. So why as a professional, to me, I was a professional in my attitude when we were playing amateurs. The money there wasn't a lot of money, but when I first joined the Sharks, my role was to train with the Sharks 4 days a week. I ended up doing 8 because I loved what I did.
You can't stop
But
it.
the thing is, if you can do different skills and do different ways of kicking, mate, you're going to make you a better player. Okay, so Israel Folau played in Australia for a couple of years. Israel was very good at in the ball in the air, great runner, but could not pass left to right, and he could not kick left foots. So why? Why wouldn't you want to be the best player in the world? Why wouldn't these guys want to improve? To be now, you're in isolation. So, well, now's my time to get my skills up to date by, right, I want to kick left foots. You tell me a number 10 in the world kicks right and left foot.
Yeah, scary.
And the fullbacks, but what? They've got all the money in the world. They've got all the time, and none of them kick left foot. I don't understand. So are they professional? Because they get money, does that mean they're professional? Or is their attitude? So any young kid wants to make the top. If you're a number 10, you can kick right, left, you can pass right, pass left, you can do a lateral pass, a spiral pass, you've got good vision, they're going to pick you over some guy who can only kick one foot. Then it gives your team more options. If you think about Butch James, Butch was Butch. He could kick right foot, couldn't kick left. But it was quite interesting because Butch, after he retired, decided to coach in Durban. And he was coaching university. And I saw him one year and I said, what are you doing, Butch? He said, oh, mate, not coaching. He said, why? He said, I talked to the players and they wouldn't listen to me. I said, is that right, Butch? He said, that's how you treated me as well. He said, I'd like to apologise.
Sort of a full circle moment there.
It does, but that's what you learn because you think they're going to say, mate, that's what happens. Because all the players think, I know what I'm doing now. I don't want these old guys telling me what to play. And that's the thing you've got to try and break is the barrier. Say, guys, go out there and try things. If it doesn't work, great, try. Don't say, no, don't do that. You've got to say, guys, okay, well, why'd you do that? Butch, why'd you do that? Well, I thought, okay, well, there's other options. That's why you've got to get these players to understand there's more than one way of trying. But if you stop them, but if you look at coaches also now, they're there to win. The pressure's on them. So they'll pick players who they think will do the job for them. They're not going to pick the player in a position where it's going to make him a better player. That's the difference between coaching and playing now. So what I try and do as a mentor, say, right, you've got to try and do this. Why can't you do a drop foot field goal? Oh, I don't know. We'll try it. Oh, that's good. So after 7 weeks, this guy can kick perfect left foot. It's not hard. It's just that we've got to we've got to pass our knowledge on. Just because we're older, we've been there. You've done that. You've seen players. You've seen how players can get better and better. And by passing on our knowledge and allowing people to try, therefore, these guys and young coaches have got to go and try things. They've got to experiment. And if you can play a great style of rugby now instead of this pod system, you're going to change rugby. You're going to change rugby. You're going to change the whole concept of rugby. And I think we need to get that entertainment factor going. You guys have got some fantastic flair players now in South Africa. You look at the Sharks back three. You look at the Bulls back three. Some of those guys are unbelievable. you know, but they just need the other players, or Willie LaRue just needs the other players to understand how to give him options. By that, things can move forward.
And I think going back to where I started, especially my time with you, where you made sure to honor the basics and the fundamentals of the game. And I know we've had lots of discussions about this when we've done coaching clinics in the past, but building those basics up from a junior level. And I think it's adamant. And I know we addressed this, and we saw there obviously is a huge amount of potential in South Africa, but at grassroots levels, basics aren't being honored the way they're supposed to. And I feel that you do the fundamentals right, makes the game a lot easier for these youngsters when they get to high school. And you're not wondering why they can't pass left or right. Why hasn't this been addressed at a younger age? So I think if we can get our coaches to understand and get our kids to understand, not just to see the flashy lights of what's happening on the TV, but understand what those professionals had to do so that they could execute their skill under pressure.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest concern is, and it's the same as around the world, you know, junior coaches are normally dads who love the game.
Yeah.
But they're not getting taught properly from the South African Rugby Development Officers. I mean, I was there from 2005 to 2009. I don't think I met one South African development officer in South Africa. I got no idea where they were, what they were doing. So with club rugby, and even now in Australia, they've got these academies. But the problem is, you can open up an academy tomorrow. You can open up and off you go, but there's no control.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what are these guys coaching out there? You know, and I see a lot of coaching. I see, you know, with the mentoring now of these kids and the coaches, is that they've been given no knowledge. We're the knowledge. Us old guys, we've been there. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
But if you know how to score a try and sidestep and swerve, I'm the person.
Yeah.
If you want to kick, I can do that. So by doing the simple basic, giving them an understand, these are the 6-8 skills. So what I've done in my I've got a YouTube channel, David Campese 11. So there's 9 exercises there. But if you want to tell your boys at Westville, those boys in the video were from Westville Boys High in South Africa.
Yeah.
So they helped me out. But if you think about all the best top sportsmen in the world, what do they all have in common? Tell me.
Yeah, they execute their basics at a
exactly
high level. Yeah.
All they do under pressure, they get the ball. Federer gets the ball over the nets. All the players in soccer, they all do their basics right, but then they push themselves to go higher. You watch Federer now. Federer will try and put the ball right in the corner about that far.
Yeah.
The person. But if he put the ball about a metre in, the person will get the ball.
Yeah.
So he's perfected that. That's what he does. You watch him. He'll move it right to the corners. But he knows he's got to get the ball over the net first.
Yeah.
So as a rugby player, if you can do the simple basics, you catch, you can pass, you can support, you can sidestep, you can swerve, you can chip kick right and left and all that, you're a complete rugby player. But if you can't do those things, if you're a right footer, the opposition know you can't kick left, well, you're going to get caught out sooner or later. You know, you're going to get noticed. So as coaches, you've got to say, right, kicking in Australia, we've got Aussie rules. Aussie rules, I believe they kick right and left as a kid. But in rugby, we don't start because most junior rugby teams, they tell you not to kick the ball. So when you come 13 upwards, you've got to start kicking and never been taught to kick. You know? So
is it frustrating for you sometimes, obviously, when you're dealing with a kid one-on-one and maybe he's developed bad habits from what he's being taught from possibly a previous coach? I'm sure, like you say, if you had sort of one vision in place, how you did things and what the kids learned along the way, then you not having to untrain this bad habit and try and teach him this technique correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, what I think what I try and do is, yes, there's a lot of one-on-one. You know, my first question is, I say, Waylon, okay, what's your position? I'm a 13. Who's your favourite player? I haven't got one. I said, mate, well, how can you play rugby in your position if you don't want to be like somebody? You because that's important to say, well, actually, I like him. I like Waylon because I know Waylon he steps inside, then looks for the outside pass. I like what he does.
Mm.
So if you're not watching anybody, who do you want to be?
Absolutely.
Then I say, right, I'm going to give you some basic skills. I said, these are very simple, and as I said on my website, they're simple. They're basic skills. They're very simple. Sidestep, swerve, do the goose step, the 2-on-1s, the 3-on-2, just the simple things. How to do a lateral pass compared to a spiral pass. Spiral pass looks better, but I try and teach them now. If I'm going to run at you flat out in a rugby game, I can't really run up to you like this close and pass a ball and spiral the ball, because you can't. You've got to catch the ball, cock the ball, and pass it. But if I can run up to you and catch the ball and lateral pass and commit you. Now, because of the spiral pass, you watch if 10 metres away they spiral, all the defence drifts. That's the difference between the spiral
Very
and the
telegraphed.
It's telegraphed. And they say, geez, the defence is good. I said, well, you're not running at anybody.
And you're already in that
pass
position. You're running with the ball as is. So why not train yourself to be automatic the way you execute that?
Right, yeah. It's like I said, right, if I'm running at someone and I've got the ball under my arm, what is that demonstrating? You're not passing. Exactly. So run with the ball in 2 hands. You run in 2 hands, you can dummy here, dummy there. The guys go, well, what's going to happen? They're just simple basics. But as I said, like I said to my son and when I coach, when I was your age, I didn't know what I'm teaching you. I only know that now because I've been there. So you guys are very lucky that when I played rugby, there was no mentoring. We didn't know. We just played. There was no TVs. There was the TV. There was no iPhones. We'd go out and play. Now you got iPhones. You got this, and now you got people. You got personal trainers in crickets. You got personal trainers in rugby. But said in our day, we didn't have any trainers. We learned by playing. So that's why now they should be able to pick it up more. But it's important that they get the right coaching, get the understanding, ask the right questions. And the coaches have got to say, guys, just try. I'm not going to have a go for failing. Because if you fail and they say, don't do that, you're never going to try again. That destroys you. And in rugby, if you have a look at now, they're giants. They run through brick walls. They don't run around. That's why Colby was good last year. Some of the Mackenzie for the Chiefs, all those guys, got Fuff in South Africa. They're all small, but they want to try different things. So
I think
shouldn't stop that from happening.
That stigma attached to how a rugby player should look, what his composition should be. I think that's thrown out of the. It's thrown out because now you want players that can break a game open, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a 200 kg oaf trying to bash through barriers.
Well, if you think about it, you think Jonah Loma came along. Okay, Jonah didn't have any records. He didn't score the most tries. Okay, the guys who scored the most tries were I scored 64. The Japanese guy came along, and then Brian came along. Okay, so we're not big. Okay, now you've got Shane Williams came along. He got to 40 or something like that. So the big giant guys, they didn't get all the tries. The little guys got all the tries because we had to work our way through, not run. We never ran over people. We ran around them.
You had to be street smart.
Well, that's it. So in Colby last year in the World Cup demonstrated, you don't have to be a giant. England picked all these big guys. All the centres are huge, but their skill factor was very poor. And our skill factor was poor. Guys some of them can't pass left to right. So what are we trying to demonstrate? That you can still be a small guy and be very dynamic and score tries and have good skills. So why do we go for giants? Because the coach wants a giant. He said, this is what I want. I want big guys to smash. Bill McLaren was a great commentator back in the day. And if you go onto YouTube and have a look at Bill McLaren's best tries as his picks, you have a look at all those tries that he's picked compared to the modern tries. Okay, there's one massive difference. In the Bill McLaren, my era, 99.9% of the tries were before contact. Now, all the tries are after contact.
That's an
Just a little
astute
thing, you know.
observation. And then that's what I
Well, you
say.
have
You
to.
say
Yeah,
how many
yeah,
players can actually touch the ball before you score the try. And you look at those moments. I know you guys had countless tries like that in that Australian rugby team where many different people kept the ball alive and it was going from 8 to 9 to 15 to lock. Everyone had the philosophy or the intent to keep the ball moving. It wasn't looking first for the contact and then trying to throw a
yeah.
miracle offload to keep the game alive. It was actually being intelligent enough to know once I've drawn the player in, then I move the ball into the next bit of space.
Well, you've got to run at somebody to commit them to create space.
Yeah,
If you don't run at somebody and there's 5 meters away and you pass, they drift.
yeah,
And how many times have we seen the poor winger get in the corner smashed by 4 defenders? And
yeah,
they're going, geez, the defence is good. You say, well, hold it. Nobody actually committed. I
yeah,
think Stain, the number 10 from the Blue Bulls who played for South Africa,
yeah,
every time he got the ball, he was 15 metres behind the scrum. He
yeah,
got the ball, didn't go forward, passed the ball backwards. The All Blacks just didn't worry about him. They just
yeah.
drifted because he was so deep that it was pointless. He didn't commit any players. So they drifted.
Hmm.
That's why you've got to commit. You've got to run at somebody to stop them, to create the space, and the other players to run, to give you an option. Now, the number 10, the best number 10s in the world were the ones who passed the ball, got involved again, or got involved again, like the Mark Ellers, the Michael Liners, the Joel Strand. They always got involved 2 or 3 times in the movement. Now, the number 10s have one because they're the playmakers.
And you
They're
feel
not
like,
looking to, they're not
yeah,
looking for the second touch. You know, it's important that they get the second touch. If you can do that, there's going to be space everywhere.
if you look at the Richie Mwangas and the Bowden Barretts and the Andre Pollards, they have that intent to occupy the space and create space for others, which
Yeah,
obviously it gives that opportunity for your game breakers out wide to be in good space where they can
so I
exploit
agree.
defense.
Yeah,
And just,
definitely. I
and
agree.
just moving as maybe second to last question, and then we'll close up. Just maybe the importance of sevens in your life and how you think it could benefit rugby 15s for a young player.
Yeah, I think sevens is a very unique sport now. We were fortunate to actually play 15s and sevens. So back in the day, you know, I mean, my first time was 83 and they had a sort of one trial. And the reason I got picked was Michael O'Connor, who played rugby for Australia, then went to play rugby league. So I was lucky enough to be picked. So I think I went back 11 times, won three tournaments. But back in the day in the sevens, you could have Serge Blanco turn up in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
You had Jean-Baptiste Lafont turned up. You know, South Africa wasn't really there, and I think until a bit later. But, you know, it was fantastic. You know, we had the Ellers, you had Michael Liner, Tim Horan, Jonah Lomu, Christian Cullen started off in the sevens in Hong Kong. That's how they got picked to 15. So it was a pathway. But now the skills are different. You know, sevens is a very different game now. Sevens is like 15 men laws in sevens. They get the ball to the wing, try and score.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, okay, we'll go to the other side. There's no about trying to create, go a stop, doing a switch, slowing the game down. The Fijians can do that perfectly.
Yeah.
But it's a different game now. You know, they run flat out. And I said, sevens is about not getting tackled. It's no contact.
Yeah.
But now they're saying, oh, you've got to win the collision. What collision in sevens? You know, for women to play sevens, they think it's contact. So they look for contact. They said, if you have contact in sevens, you're out of the game. What do you mean? Well, if you're on the floor, you're out. Don't have contact. They look at me like, no, that's not what we want. So it's been totally turned around from what sevens should be. And now it's just like a flat out 7 minutes. Now you can interchange as many players, off you go, and get to the ball to wing and score. That's not sevens. The way we've played, sevens about creating, slowing the ball down, trying to get a guy into a space, you know, committing 2 or 3 players, you know, stepping and swerving, you know. But some people can do it, some can't. But it's a great avenue now if you want to go to Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games. There's another avenue which it's never really been available. I went to the Commonwealth Games in '98, but then now it's an Olympic sport. So absolutely fantastic for any kid that you can be a specialist sevens player, but as long as you got the skills, the factor, the X factor, the stepping, the swerving, and you really want to go for it, that's a great avenue to go.
And I remember pre-season before our 2007 year, when we had that good year in 2007, we did a lot of 7s and 10s, which was foreign to many of us playing playing at that time. And I just thought it was so nice to see, you know, pops and locks and everyone thinking about space suddenly and not necessarily thinking, I need to bash into this player. Meanwhile, you have to listen to communication and look where the space is. So I think it did a lot for our game going into that 2007 season, where players were thinking about keeping the ball alive and actually looking what's in front of them, which is maybe a difficult thing in this day and age. I think a lot of modern day rugby players just see what's in front of them.
Yeah, they do. But also, if you think about the characters, you had Dickie Muir.
Yeah.
You know, you had Leo.
Yeah.
The forwards coach. I was a skills coach.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of experience as well. You know, so the characters, and also, I mean, we had a good team.
Yeah.
You know, the team wanted to learn, and after probably the year before, obviously in 2006. So it actually helps. It actually helps when you got the coaches who are willing to allow you to do that. Now the coaches, you know, even though I was an Australian, I sort of implemented, right, just do the simple hands, guys. You know, I didn't try and change the way you played, but here's a couple of good skills. Under pressure, this is what you've got to try and do. So everyone had an input. Now, the coach is a coach. Like we're in Australia, we've had a Kiwi coach. Now we've got another Kiwi coach. You know, we're not Kiwis, we're Australians. We used to be innovators once. You know, we used to invent things. Now we're followers. We wait for someone else to do it, then we do it.
Yeah.
We've lost the knack. And Australian rugby was always unpredictable style of rugby. We had flair. We had players who would do different things, the Horans, you know, the Joe Roths and all that. We had great finishers. And now we're not. You know, we're not like that. We've got some of the guys now, backs can't even catch and pass properly. I mean, that's so sad, you know, to see a national team. We had a guy years ago that couldn't pass from left to right. Israel Folau, 2 years ago against Argentina in Gold Coast, got the ball under his arm. All he had to do was pass it to Foley score, but didn't pass it because he couldn't pass.
Yeah.
I mean, is that really what Australian rugby was about? I don't think it was. But they're professionals. You know, they get paid a lot of money and that's how it goes. But why wouldn't you want to be, you know, that's the mentality I've always had. To be the best, mate, you've got to go out there and give everything you got. Try things, mate. Leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
Go out there, try different things. If it fails, keep on going. You know, if for myself, you know, the British Lions in 1989, I threw that ball to Greg Martin. Yay never scored, and they won the series.
Yeah.
2 years later, we win the World Cup. The most important thing that someone said to me was, you know, after the World Cup 91, you wake up the next day, you're the world champ, you say, okay, what happens now? Right, here we are. What happens? Nothing happens. And then they said, the most important thing in life is the journey itself. It's not the goal.
Yeah.
It's how you get to the goal.
Absolutely.
Like me sacrificing, going to Italy for 10 years, playing sevens. Anyone said, I went to South Africa in 1985, played a sevens tournament at Kings Park for the South African Barbarians. So all that sort of stuff. It's all those sacrifices, watching, learning, meeting Ray Mort, you know, I never got to play against those guys. So that sort of thing, at the end of the day, you look back and say, geez, you know, I said, it's great to win, but if it wasn't for all that experience, I wouldn't have experienced the winning.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good way of summing up and maybe a way to end. I think you touched on a lot of good points that I think our young students can obviously learn from. But maybe just in closing, what would be your vision for kids, especially starting high school or wanting to grow in the sports, to learn, to get better? What sort of tips would you give them?
Well, firstly, you're lucky in South Africa. I'd be playing as a kid every sport possible. Firstly, if you play one sport and you play it, firstly, you're going to get bored or you're going to get injured because your muscles are used to that one motion.
Yeah.
If you can play tennis, if you can play golf, if you can play rugby. So in Australia, we've got Aussie rules, we've got rugby league, and we've got we've got other sports and cricket, as you guys. Yeah. So the more sports you play, the more your muscles are used to different motions. You don't get as injured.
Absolutely.
Secondly, have a goal, who you want to be like, and just try things. Just go out there and just keep on trying. You know, do the work. It's not going to happen. Sometimes in life there's a lot of luck involved. You know, for myself in 1982, 11 wallabies pulled out of the Tour of New Zealand, so I happened to be at the right place at the right time. But then you make your own luck. You know, on a field, the ball bouncing your way is because you've made the luck. You know, so you've just got to take the goods with the bad, but have a goal, keep on going, be inspired, and don't leave any stone unturned. You know, my motto's always been a poem they used to read was "Winners take chances like everyone else, but winners refuse to give in. They realise there is more in one way and are willing to try others. Winners don't blame luck for their successes or fails for their fortunes. Winners accept responsibility for their lives." That sort of stuff. You know, you get something that inspires you and go, right, you know, the fear of failing, that's what drove me. I didn't want to fail. So you keep on pushing. You push in to find that extra. There's a documentary at the moment about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I've been following
on
it. It's been
Netflix.
outstanding, yeah.
But have a look at what a player he was. And as he said, he didn't care. Guys, if you're not going to be the best you can, don't play. Go somewhere else. But that was his. So he put a lot of pressure on other players. But when you see what he went through, I went through the same thing. You know, a lot of top sportsmen, if you look, it's the same. You've got a desire. Your focus is being someone and trying to be the best you can. And sometimes there's a lot of sacrifice that other people can't see. So it's really about not giving up and just giving it your best, mate. You got one opportunity in life, and you don't want to get to a certain age. Why didn't I do that? Leave no stone unturned.
Thanks very much, Campo. I think that's the best way to leave it. Sage wisdom as always, and obviously
I try, mate. I try. I've been around a long time.
It's been great to have a friendship with you over the years, and it's beautiful to see how much you give back to the youngsters, especially coaching, and how much your passion gets shown for the game of rugby, and how much you give back. So I think, yeah, we both hope and we pray that rugby continues to grow and to expand and to stay the beautiful sport that it is. And I'm sure with people of your caliber, it's only going to go from strength to strength. So thank you very much for having this conversation with me.
No worries, mate. Thanks very much. But tell everyone hello in South Africa. Also on my Instagram tomorrow night, I've got Brian Aban. I'm speaking to David Campese 11 live. Okay. So if you want to listen, you can ask questions, mate.
Okay, wonderful.
And go to my website. I'm doing a lot of mentoring now. So anybody who wants to be helped out or mentored, I'm the man.
Will do. Thanks, Campo. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks, Waylon. Appreciate it, mate.
Bye.
Bye.